How's it going, everybody? This is Dominic Minchella. I am the Kansas City Chiefs beat writer for On SI and the host of the Kansas City Chiefs Insider Podcast. Thank you guys so much for stopping in today. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day whenever you are watching this. As today we continue on discussing training camp topics for the Kansas City Chiefs. We've talked a lot about Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce could be on the resurgence and the potential rise that is first-round draft pick Josh Simmons. But one guy that we haven't talked about in a while on this podcast that I feel like is important to discuss now, sooner rather than later, is the free agent signing who got the most money for the Kansas City Chiefs this offseason, and offensive lineman Jaylon Moore. Now, Jaylon Moore, he was brought in on a 2-year deal. He was signed before the Kansas City Chiefs went out and drafted Josh Simmons, with the hopes in retrospect at the time, it was an important signing because they did not know for sure if they were going to get Josh Simmons. Also, if they did get Josh Simmons, that he wouldn't be able to, who knew what the timeline was for his recovery. Now that we know how this is going out, Jaylon Moore was expecting to be in a position battle with Josh Simmons this training camp for the left tackle spot, a position primarily played by Moore throughout his career in the National Football League. He's played several positions on the offensive line, but he is primarily a guy who's going to line up at the left tackle position. We saw it last year as well with the Niners. But with a guy who is making a lot of money this season and the next, and a rookie in Simmons who is showing, hey, I'm not that hurt. I'm showing up very well. He's been one of the more productive guys, one of the more productive rookies in the Chiefs training camp thus far. But if he has already solidified himself, that is Josh Simmons, as the starting left tackle for the first week, Jaylon Moore is making a lot of money to just kind of be brought in off the bench. So the Kansas City Chiefs throughout training camp have been very smart in seeing where he could play and fill in on the offensive line. He has experience at right tackle. He's, like I said earlier, primarily a guy who's going to line up at the left tackle position. But according to head coach Andy Reid, he is also subbing in here and then at the left guard position. And if you remember me saying in the past, going into training camp, head coach Andy Reid disclosed that the left guard competition would be held between Kingsley Suamataia and Mike Caliendo. Now, we've heard a lot about Suamataia this training camp, saying that he's starting to come into his own. The second-year player, he has a lot of growth at the position, and he needs to be an asset wherever the Kansas City Chiefs decide to put him. Caliendo, in major news, has got to be good news. He was slightly better in terms of PFF grade compared to Kingsley last season, but that is the position battle. But hindsight now is 2020. You didn't know that you were going to get Josh Simmons, so you were assuming, and now that you did, you didn't know how healthy he was going to be. Now that we know that Josh Simmons is doing very well in his recovery process and that he was supposed to be in a battle with Jaylon Moore at the left tackle position, he's starting to take a step forward while Jaylon Moore is starting to take a step back. But seeing that the left side was so weak last season for the Kansas City Chiefs during the regular season and during the playoffs, most prominently in the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. You need to solidify that left side. Kingsley Suamataia, if he's not the answer, they went out and got a veteran. Jaylon Moore has been taking snaps at the left guard position, and head coach Andy Reid said, he can do any of the three. So he is not a guy who already has a solidified position. And the way that we speak now, training camp is still a long way ahead. Josh Simmons is, we know, the future plan for the Kansas City Chiefs at the left tackle position. But we don't know yet if the future is upon us in his first season. If the season were to start today, I would fairly confidently say that Simmons is the guy to go to as the starting left tackle. That does not mean that Jaylon Moore is not doing anything correctly. He is still a guy that is being an asset on this team. A guy who is getting paid a lot of money has been shown that he can play the left guard position, the left tackle position, the right tackle position, which is also kind of a weak side if you think about it for the Chiefs on that right side. Not the guard position that is held down by Trey Smith, but the right tackle position. There's a lot of areas on the Chiefs offensive line that need solidifying. While Jaylon Moore might not be in the running for the left tackle position, currently the starting left tackle position, I wouldn't be surprised to see if he doesn't give it a run for his money at becoming a starting member of the offensive line, whether that is at the left guard position next to Josh Simmons, his competitor going into this season, or if he's on the other side, making sure that Mahomes' right side is protected. All in all, I don't think that people should be quick to say, he's getting benched. I don't think that there is, if he keeps staying consistent and keeps showing, while Kingsley Suamataia or Caliendo at the left guard position are not, filling the check boxes that the organization is looking for, being ready for week one, Jaylon Moore has the experience. He has the success. He's been able to prove that he's an asset and that he can be a multiple asset guy. I think that it is crucial to not overlook Jaylon Moore, even at the left tackle position. A lot of things can change from now until the beginning portion of the season. But in a perfect world, and if how everything keeps continuing on for the Kansas City Chiefs, in my mind, and it could change very much. I think that left guard competition could easily be between Suamataia, Jaylon Moore. You have the left tackle position being held down by Josh Simmons and Jaylon Moore. Then you have the Creed Humphrey at center, Trey Smith at guard, and then you have, you guessed it, Jaylon Moore as another option at right tackle. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important for the Kansas City Chiefs. They don't need to have a solidified guy at every position. There are guys who have just that God-given talent to be so good to do multiple different things. And I think that with the time and with the continuous snaps during training camp, Jaylon Moore can become that player for the Kansas City Chiefs. That being said, though, ladies and gentlemen, as always, you should follow me over on X. I post and repost every single day. You're not going to want to miss any coverage that we've got of the Kansas City Chiefs as training camp continues. You can also follow us over at KC Chiefs on SI over on X. We post every single day, every story for free by our wonderful writing staff. You're not going to want to miss any coverage that we've got. Kansas City Chiefs for on SI is the place to get your Kansas City Chiefs news. As always, I am Dominic Minchella. Be kind to one another, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you tomorrow.